What's good? I wanted to give you another breakdown. I know I said that I would like to break down the song Zebra from week 24, but I think logically the song I should be breaking down now is Monkey in My Pocket. The reason being simply that, well, I did the breakdown for week 7. Okay, sorry that I left you. And that is a song about me leaving Shenyang, about me saying goodbye to my friend at the airport. And Monkey in My Pocket is a song about when I first landed in Shenyang. So it seems to make more sense in my head that I break this down for you. So that's what I want to do. I'm going to play around with the editing. I don't know how I'm going to do this yet. Hopefully I'm going to edit this side of the screen to play the video so we can play the song. I can pause it and explain the lyrics, where they came from. And I'll link the full song below the video. I will also tell you that it's available on streaming sites if you like it. It's on the first album, weeks 1 to 13, as is week 7, which is on Spotify and every other streaming platform that you possibly could listen to music on. So go and check that. Let's get into it. Where'd it go? There we go.
I remember when I woke up on a flight, head pressed up tight against the window on my right.
Self-explanatory. I remember when I woke up on a flight, head pressed up tight against the window on my right. There we go. I woke up on a flight. Bear in mind, right, this flight was the third of 3. I had left, I didn't come straight from England when I landed in China. I'd gone to Prague. I'd left England at like the end of July, and I'd gone to Prague, and I stayed in Prague, and I worked as a tour guide for a month, and it was great. I just had fun, really. I mean, I studied my TEFL there, I had friends there, but they had lived there all the time, so they'd made new friends, and we had like a community there. It was great, and I had a lot of fun. And I remember and I left Prague, and I just wanted to go home. I'd already been away from England for a month, and I was just like, I just wanted to go home and see people, but I had this commitment, and my flight's booked, and they were expecting me in Shenyang, so I had to go from Prague to Moscow, then Moscow to Beijing, and then Beijing to Shenyang, and it was tough, all right? And I was battered, and I woke up on that Shenyang flight, and I just knew that someone had put a sandwich next to me, and the plane was going in for the landing. So I remember when I woke up on a flight, head pressed up tight against the window on my right. So that was it. I guess I woke up close to that destination. That's where the story starts.
Felt the plane dip like soon we would arrive. Feeling so scared and tired I could have cried, but
There we go. Felt the plane dip like soon we would arrive. Feeling so scared and tired I could have cried, but So there we go, that's it. Like I woke up and the plane dipped, and I'm like, okay, we're going to be going into landing. And I was terrified because I didn't know what was there when I landed.
Unclipped my strap, stood up, got off the plane, through passport control, watched the belt to clock my case, out into arrivals, hoping someone spots my face. What a place, I may as well be lost in space.
Right, that's true. Let me just... Okay, so that was the deal. I'm terrified on this flight, and I've got no way out of it. I'm here now. So yeah, it lands, I get up. But I unclipped my strap, stood up, got off the plane, through passport control, watched the belt to clock my case, to get my luggage, watching the conveyor belt, got my luggage, out into arrivals, hoping someone spots my face. Literally, because I didn't know, because they told me they were going to meet me, but I hadn't really had a lot of contact with anyone. And the last thing I'd done is I'd messaged the person I was in contact with when I was in Prague, and I said, hey, I'm going for my flight now. That's my flight. And he'd said, oh right, I'll try and get someone to pick you up at the airport. I'm thinking, please do, because otherwise it would have been pretty bad. And I got off the flight, and I've got no internet. Anyway, I tried to sign on the Wi-Fi, and then I can't use Google. I can't use the social media that I've been using. And I don't know what's happening. And I go out, and I don't know, it's just very alien. I'm the only white face I've seen since I got off the flight in Beijing, I think, since I got off the Moscow flight. So I'm surrounded by the Chinese people, which is fine. But at that point, it was a very different experience for me. So yeah, and where was I? And then literally, so it was just crazy. That's the bottom line.
First apartment that I ever went and saw, swiped a card for the lift, went up to the 7th floor.
That's it, right? The first apartment they ever went and saw, swiped a card for the lift, went up to the 7th floor, because that was it. So I got to the airport. I was greeted at the airport. I was met by 2 people from the company who had given me a job. And the first thing, it was a guy and a girl, both taller than me. So the stereotypes of Chinese people being short is ridiculous. They were both taller than me. That's crushed straight away. And the first thing they say to me, apart from like saying, Michael, and me going, yeah, hi. The lady goes, can you speak Chinese? I said, no. And she was like, what, not at all? And I'm like, no. And then they both just went, now I'm even more terrified, as if I wasn't scared before. I didn't know I had to learn Chinese. I thought I was coming out here to teach English, but that's the first thing you say to me, and then you look scared when I'm an ignorant Brit. I thought I could go all over the world and speak English and be okay, and nah, it wasn't the case, not in Shenyang. So yeah, and they put us in a van and they drove us off to my apartment. Okay, and they took, I don't know what area, I think I roughly remember what area it was in, but at the time I didn't know the city, obviously. Just based on what they told me at the time about the area and then what I later learned, I think I know where it was. I think it was an area I didn't really want to live for my initial stages in Shenyang. But yeah, the first apartment that I ever went and saw, swiped a card for the lift, went up to the 7th floor. That was it. Went this dingy looking building, like really rough looking building, went in, swiped a card, went up into this apartment, met some lady, and they let us in.
There's no mattress on the bed, there's no shower on the wall. Damn, I felt so under pressure, wish I had someone to call.
No mattress on the bed, no shower on the wall. And the lady, the people now, there was the 2 people from my company and the lady, the landlord of this flat, they were saying to me, you can have it for 1,300 RMB a month, which is like, I think at the exchange rate I got when I went over there, it was like £130 a month. I'm like, wow, that's cheap, £130 a month. But it's dingy, there's no mattress and there's no shower. And the lady's like, no, well, if you rent it, then I'll go. She would literally take my money and go and buy a mattress and buy a shower and fit them in the apartment. But it's a state, it's a complete state, it's a mess. There's piles of dead roaches on the floor, like, you know, insects, not the cigarette butts, but there's cigarette butts as well. It's a mess, it's a complete state of an apartment. And I'm there and they're asking me for 6 months up front. And I'm freaking out a bit, and I'm like, I don't want to live here. I'm jet lagged. I've just arrived in this strange place. You freaked me out straight off the plane because I can't speak Chinese, and now you're trying to squeeze like 6 months of rent for this place. You're telling me I'm going to come here and live in this place. And I spoke to the guy outside. We went and had a cigarette. I gave him a roll up. He'd never seen a roll up before. It blew his mind. And he said maybe you could try and offer 3 months. And which I did, and they declined it, saying we want 6 months. And I literally said to them, I'm not living here. I'm sorry, I can't live here.
I remember looking out over the city, feeling low and insignificant, like everything eclipsed me. Missing all those friends of mine, full of self-pity. Laying in the bed I made, hoping that they'll miss me too.
So, there's another jump there, okay? After looking at that terrible apartment, they sped me around a bit more. We went to a few more places. They were panicked. There was lots of phone calls, which I didn't understand, but it was very intense. And I guess it was like, look, the foreigner's just got off the plane. We need somewhere for him to live. He can't stay in the other apartment. I later learned, based on what I later learned, I assumed that situation was simply that the school had been like, we have a teacher coming over and they need somewhere to live, and someone had said, oh, I've got an apartment he can rent, and that was it. So it was a friend of somebody and they just tried to put me in there. It was easy for them. If I'd taken the apartment, it would have been helpful for them and easy for them, but it was a state and I didn't want to live there. And I remembered that in my contract it said they would find me suitable living accommodation, and I referenced that. I said, this is not suitable living accommodation. So so then after speeding around a bit more, we found another place. We found a place, they took me somewhere, but they would only give me 3 days, so I could live in this place for 3 days and the company would pay for it, which was all right. And it was in a big, tall, like maybe 30-story building near one of the busiest shopping streets in the whole city, and it was up on the 20-something floor. Okay, and it was a whole mess in that place. I won't go into too many details because it'll take too long, but on my introduction to that building, it's another story. But let's just say it was stressful. It was a big wake-up call for me on where I was and what I'd kind of landed myself in. And that bit there, I remember looking out over the city, feeling low and insignificant, like everything eclipsed me. That's it, because I'm in a big place now, and I'm above a busy street, and I'm like, I don't know anybody in the country. It's a big country. I don't know anybody here. I can't speak the language. I don't know how to get anywhere. I'm like, I can't even. I told this to my friend the other day, and he's like, I would have gone to the airport. And I'm like, I couldn't go to the airport. It was like, I couldn't get there. I couldn't say airport, let alone get there. Like, I was stuck. There was no way out. Like, that was it. And I accepted it. It was like, this is what it is. But then I did start to miss home again. I was like, I'd been there not even like 6 hours. I'd been in Shenyang maybe like 4 hours, 5 hours at this point. And it just terrified me, the size of the city and how alien the culture was and the language was and how much I stood out, how noticeable I was. It was just like really intense. And yeah, and I did start kind of wishing I was back home a little bit. That night I actually I had a chat with my girlfriend on Skype, and she was in tears to me because she had just dipped over to Europe for a little while, and she was in tears to me because she missed her family back home. And I kind of tried to comfort her and tell her it was all right, but really I was like breaking because I'm thinking like, it's not as bad where you are is not as bad as where I am. But enough of that. Yeah, so yeah, missing all those friends of mine, hoping that they miss me too. There we go.
Adjusting from what it was to what it is, surreal as ever seen in more than one way. I'm on a trip, must try my hardest not to get too lost and slip. Gotta find my feet and plant them if I wanna live.
There we go. All right, where was that bit? So adjusting from what it was to what it is. Straightforward, right? This is very. I need to adjust to this. I've got to accept it. Can't get out. It's very different. Adjust. That's the only thing you can do. Adjust. So adjusting from what it was to what it is. Surreal as ever seen in more than one ways. I'm on a trip. That's it. I mean, I don't need to explain that, but I'm here. I'm on a trip. I'm on a trip like this is a journey, and I'm on a trip like this is crazy. Like I must have taken some hallucinogenic to be here. Like it's so alien to what we're used to, and I can't even explain it anymore because it quickly started to feel normal to me after I stayed there a little while. But especially the first 6 months was mental. Yeah, adjusting from what it was to what it is. Surreal as ever seen. One way I'm on a trip. Must try my hardest not to get too lost and slip. Got to find my feet and plant them if I want to live. That's basically it. Because at this point, I knew why I'd left England. I'd left England because it's like I felt like I had nothing there. I felt like I had no way to progress, and I felt like everything was crumbling around me. I was getting incredibly depressed, and I was like, well, if I come here and I can't make it work, I just go back there and I'm back in the same place. So it's like, I've got to try. I've got to really stick to this and make it work. I've got to make something of this.
I can't read a single word upon the menu, but my pal knows enough to keep us comfy at the venue.
I can't read a single word upon the menu, but my pal knows enough to keep us comfy at the venue. There's another jump here. Another few days later, I'd found an apartment. That was dramatic. I'd got lost on the way to my apartment on my first day on my own on the streets with all my luggage, and I'd spent all my money on ridiculous stuff that I didn't need because my boss had seen me and thought I looked scruffy, so I'd been taken out to spend money on like a steamer and a pair of shoes that I never even really wore at all, but it was all about appearances, and I didn't have any money, so I was just spending this money that I didn't have. And then by the time I got into my apartment and I'd paid 6 months and I'd been through all the drama with that, I was like really broke, and all I'd managed to do is like I'd gone back to a Walmart, a supermarket, and I'd bought like all the cheapest cooking equipment because I couldn't really eat out. I could only go to like supermarkets and pick things up and pay for them at the till because I couldn't communicate, so I couldn't ask for anything over a counter. I could only buy what I could physically pick up and take to pay for. So I lost a lot of weight in the first few months because I just couldn't eat. But I got enough cooking stuff and I found enough ingredients. Even though it was really hard buying loose vegetables, I couldn't figure out how to buy loose vegetables. So whenever I took loose vegetables to the till, they would just take them away from me. So I just started buying everything pre-packaged. But yeah, so I got my cooking stuff back, and the first time I started making pasta, and I got added into a group for all the foreign teachers in this new school I was going to be working in. And they were like, if you need any help, let me know. what I needed help with is I had no money, no Chinese money, but I had some euros because I've been in Prague. I still had some British pounds and some euros, and I had some Czech crowns as well. And I'm like, I need all the money I can get. So when they offered me help, I said like, can anyone help me change money into like the currency here? And one guy, a Scottish guy, agreed to meet me on the busy shopping street that I'd now moved away from, and took me to the bank. And he basically gave me my first introduction to like, I don't know how to put it, like kind of a mutual human who would just, they'd met me not because they had to, they'd met me to do me a favour, and they were speaking to me just as a courtesy, I guess because he knew as well what it was like to land somewhere like that fresh and have no support. So yeah, that was really good. Like that bit, I can't read a single word upon the menu, but my pal knows enough to keep us comfy at the venue, right? That's it. So he took me to the bank, he helped me with that, and then we're walking back and he's like, so, you know, come and get something to eat. And I'm like, I'm all right. I kind of brushed it off. He's like, look, you just got here, you ain't got nothing to do. Like, just come and have something to eat with me, have some barbecue and some beers. And I'm like, okay, yeah, you're right. I needed that. Yeah. So he really hooked me up, man. And he taught me some of my first ever Chinese and all that. And we sat there and ate and drank. And he gave me my first real introduction to that. So big up, bruv. You know who you are. And I know you wouldn't mind me saying your name either, but I feel like it's almost cheapens it. Go on, Graham. All right.
The table filled up quick. We chatted on the level, introduced to where we're at. Seems I made a friend too.
That bit makes me cringe at the end. Seems I made a friend too. It's just a bit cringy, isn't it? It doesn't really like, and it wasn't meant to be so cringy. I think the reason it seems really cringy is because I wrote this song and I didn't know how to sing it. It wasn't until I started recording it that I was like, oh, okay, some lines need to be sung and some lines can't be sung. And I wasn't sure which way. And first off, I was just winging it. I was just going for the lyrics and just trying to wing it on the fly, and it didn't really work. So I went back through and I underlined the lines that needed to be sung and left the ones that needed to be just delivered. And that's how I got the formatting like that. And it just so happened that line had to be like, seems I made a friend too, and it couldn't just be like, seems I made a friend too, or something better that didn't sound as cringy. Because it's just that, it was just like, that was my initial, it wasn't the first person I met, it wasn't the first friend I'd met, but it was the first person I'd met where I'd been like, I'd knock about with people like you back home. Like, you remind me of people I hang about with, and I feel comfortable around you for the sense of humor that you have. I tie into that, I get that, I can connect with that, cool. And it put me at ease. So yeah, but what was it? Yeah, the table filled up quick, we chatted on the level, there we go. We ordered loads of food that I'd never seen before, all amazing, and I could never have ordered it on my own, and beers and stuff, and yeah, and we chatted. He introduced me to everything, and we carried on.
I remember when I had a monkey in my pocket after 7 Gampi and was drunk up off the knowledge that I'm gonna be okay and can thrive just as long as I've a head up on my shoulders I can trust to keep me on it.
Right, so, bang. That's the last bit. Where are we? I remember when I had a monkey in my pocket, the title of the song. I remember when I had a monkey in my pocket. What's that? What's a monkey in my pocket? 500 RMB in my pocket. 500 kwai qian in my pocket. Hong, yeah. Is that how we, I can't remember, my Chinese is falling apart. But that was it, because we were chatting and that, and I didn't even know how to get home. We stayed there drinking so long that the subways were not running anymore, and he put me in a taxi. He knew I had no money, and he just literally stuffed 500 kwai in my hand, and I was like, bro, no, it's fine, and it's like he knew I only had like a tenner to my name, and I wasn't going to get paid for like 2 months. So he's like, look, it's only a monkey, don't worry about it, just give me it back when you get paid, it's only a monkey. And I'm like, all right, cool, thank you, bro. So I took the monkey and I put the monkey in my pocket. That's why the song's called Monkey in My Pocket, because of that. And I remember when I had a monkey in my pocket after 7 Gampi and was drunk up off the knowledge. Gampi is a beer. Gampi directly translates to dry beer. Now there's one particular brand of beer that was very popular in Shenyang. It's a Shenyang beer and it's called Snow. It's called like Shuhua. I always mess it up because it sounds really similar to another Chinese word. But Snow beer. And they have different kinds. They have like Lao Shuohua and Gampi. Gampi is the dry beer. Gampi is like, you know, the mid-strength. It's not the strongest, but it's more the lager. It's more like a standard lager that was very common there. So yeah, I think it was actually, I don't know if it still is or how long it was, but it was like the most popular beer in the world, actually, which is crazy because I'd never heard of it before I went out there, and I guess it's just because there were so many people in China. But it's a beer from the city that I stayed in and lived in for 7 years. It's called Snow, and as far as I'm aware, it is like the most, it's got like a world record. It's like the most bought or the most drank or something beer in the world, which is kind of cool. So yeah, I remember when I had a monkey in my pocket after 7 Gampi and was drunk up off the knowledge that I'm gonna be okay. Because that was it, because I've been freaking out the whole time, and then I'd met this guy who would put a monkey in my pocket, and I've been like, no, you're like people from back home. Okay, I don't feel so alien anymore. There's a connection here that kind of relaxes me a bit. I was drunk up off the knowledge that I'm gonna be okay and can thrive just as long as I've a head up on my shoulders I can trust to keep me on it or honest. On it, but I wrote honest first and then I crossed honest out and wrote on it, because I think in this case I was trying to find my feet, and I am always very honest, but I think at that point being on it was much more important than being honest. I had to stay focused and know what I was doing, because but yeah, that's the whole song, right? That's the whole song. God, it almost makes me want to go back to China now, thinking of that. I remember when I had that meal with my pal, and he taught me a little bit of Chinese. He could speak a little bit of Chinese, and I just remember saying to him, I was like, do you know what? I think if I could speak Chinese, I could have a lot of fun out here. I think it could be a really cool place to live if I could speak Chinese. And he was like, yeah. And he said to me, well, how long are you going to stay then? I said, I don't know, like a year. I was like, I've taken a year contract. I've got a girlfriend back home. He's like, well, you ain't going to learn the language, are you? So I don't know, I can try hard. And he said to me, you won't stay a year. I said, I don't know, man, I probably will. You were right. I'll come back and see you sometime, eh? Let's go and have another Gampi or 7. Bit of choi. Peace. Be good.